Okay, today I want to talk about how a carburetor works. And this is, most carburetors are similar in the way they function. This carburetor here, I want to talk about three systems in it. One system is the float bowl and the fuel valve. And the other system is going to be the idle circuit, and there's a main circuit, a high speed circuit and a low speed circuit. So first off, the fuel enters the carburetor through a intake. There's a hose here that connects to the gas tank. It will fill up the float bowl. Let me see, where's the fuel come in? Alright, so I can blow air in here. I think it's in here. Let me see. No, it didn't come out there. Alright, stop filming, Keith. Okay, so fuel enters the carburetor through this hole. It comes in right here, and it fills up this area with, there's a filter that sits in there. There's a filter that sits right in there, and then there's a bowl cover that ends up going over this. And then the fuel goes through the filter, and it goes in this hole right here, and from there it comes up this hole right here, and it comes into, and that mates up with the carburetor, so it will go in this hole here and comes down here, and here, this is where there's a float valve, and this is part of the float valve. You'll see later when I put it in. And then there's a float that fits in here, and then there's a little valve that goes in here, and the float, when the float goes up high, it shuts off the flow, so that the float bowl only fills up to, it doesn't overflow, fills up somewhere in there. Anyways, and then as the float goes up and down, it regulates how much fuel goes into the bowl. So that's how the carburetor gets its gas. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is, the other thing is you can check to make sure that these holes are all cleared out by just taking a little rubber hose like this. Just blow air through the different holes. Like, I can blow air through here, like this. And I can see it comes out there. You should probably, when you do this, you should probably be wearing safety glasses, because if there is something in there and blows out, it could blow out into your eye. And this can happen if you're cleaning things too, with like carburetor cleaner or something, so you have to be careful. So now you can check out that hole, make sure that one's not clogged. Blow some air through it. Blows through nice. So, actually it came out of here. Why did it come out of there? Okay. Stop filming for a second, please.
Started.
So when I blow air through here, it comes out down here where the filter is, it's supposed to, but it also came out here, and it was like, what the heck is that for? But there's supposed to be there's a plug that goes in there that plugs that. So that's what that is. I don't really know what that's for. Okay, so that's how the carburetor gets its fuel, and that's how the carburetor regulates its fuel. Now the next thing to talk about is the low speed circuit, or the idle circuit, which is, there's an idle jet, that's this one here, with the real narrow cone shape needle on the end. This one's got a little bit of wear on it. These things you can't tighten down too tight, because they'll flatten out the end, and you don't want that to happen. Now the needle goes right in here. There's some other parts that go with this, but the needle goes in here. And let me see where the needle comes out. I think you're actually going to see it. Okay. Now you can actually, can you focus in on this, Keith? See the needle right there. Can you see that little brass needle right there?
I think so.
Alright, now I'm going to open it. There's a little brass needle right there. That's the end of this needle. Now when I open it, you can see that it drops out of sight. And when I close it, you can see it. Okay, that regulates the amount of fuel going into the idle circuit. Now where does it get the fuel for the idle circuit? Well, the way a carburetor works is if you have a big pipe feeding a small pipe, then there's a large volume of air coming in the big pipe. When it goes through a smaller pipe, which is called a venturi, it causes higher pressure in that smaller pipe, which causes a vacuum. And so if you look at this, if you look at the chamber here, this is a big area. But right in here is a small area. Now when I open up the throttle, which is this plate here in the back, you can see that there's a small pipe and there's a big pipe. Okay, so this is the what they call high velocity or low pressure area. So it creates, as the air flows into the engine, you know, when the piston goes up, it creates a vacuum. It sucks the air into the engine. It creates a low pressure area in here, which will cause a vacuum. So now, the fuel for the idle circuit, let's see if I get this right now. Okay. Alright. I think it comes in. Okay. Stop the video for a second. So at the bottom of the bowl here, this is where the high-speed jet goes in. Now, gas settles in the bottom of the bowl, and it settles in the bottom of this hole here. Now there's a tube right here where some of that gas can go up the tube, goes up through this hole, goes into the hole in the side of the bowl here, goes up and then over, and goes into this chamber here where the needle jet is. And then it feeds this area here. So from here, there's, I'm going to need the light now for this. Alright, from here, there is, can you see the three holes? See the three holes in there?
Yeah.
Alright, these three holes.
You move your hand.
Yeah, these three holes go right down to in front of the throttle plate, which is right there, and goes into the engine. So this is where the idle fuel goes into the engine. So it comes up this, gets regulated by the needle valve, goes into these three holes, and goes on the inside plate. This is the throttle plate. But the throttle plate's closed when you're at idle. So that when it's closed, the air comes in through this little hole right here in the throttle plate, and a little space in the bottom, and then the fuel comes right through those three holes. Now, what happens when you accelerate? Well, when I accelerate, this throttle plate moves. The throttle plate opens when I accelerate. When it opens, it needs to transition now from the idle circuit to the main circuit. So what it does, it needs to get more gas from the idle circuit before the mains actually takes over. So that's what this slot's for. Can you see the slot, Keith?
I don't know, your hand's in the way.
Alright. See this little slot right here?
Yeah.
Alright, so that slot is called the transfer slot. And what happens is as you open up the throttle, more fuel from the idle circuit goes into the engine until it gets onto the mains. So let me open up the throttle, you can see it. Can you see the light, Keith, getting bigger?
Move your arm.
See how the slot opens up? Okay, so that means more gas is going into the engine until it gets on the main circuit. So that is how the idle circuit works. So what's important about this? Well, what's important about it is this adjustment, the idle fuel adjustment, is never going to work at all unless this is on the idle circuit. That means that the slot's closed, that this is actually down on idle. So the engine has to be idling slow in order for you to be able to adjust the low speed circuit. And all the fuel passageways need to be clear so that the fuel can be sucked up into this area. So if there's any clogging, then it won't work. And you can verify that it's not clogged after you clean the carburetor just by simply taking a hose like this and blowing through all the orifices. So, and if you can, air goes through, gas will go through.